The Office for National Statistics has also analysed vaccination rates in older people. It found around 70% of black over 50s have been vaccinated, compared to 93% of white British adults. So let's speak to Heather Nelson, the Chief Executive of the Black Health Initiative in Leeds. Hello, Heather.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, what do you think's happening here?
I think if we look at it as a bigger picture, which is that people from the Black communities, that's Black British, Caribbean, African, etc., they have a certain amount of distrust with those who are within the NHS and providing services because of historical issues and actually quite up-to-date issues as well. So instead of isolating the COVID vaccination, we really need to look at the overall issue that we have, which is health disparities as a whole.
And so how do you, Heather, when people have those concerns, which, as you say, in some cases go back quite a long time, and you need to perhaps change attitudes quite quickly all of a sudden, how do you set about doing that?
I think what we need to do is look at working in partnership. So rather than say NHS saying this has to be done and putting it on their social media platforms, websites, and saying we have leaflets, it's actually working with third sector organisations who have the trust of the communities that they're wanting to target and say, look, this is what we need to do. This is what's happening. We need to work in partnership with you. We also need to understand, and we say this all the time, one size doesn't fit all, but yet still we're thinking that just a blanket information will actually work for all communities that we're wanting to target. And as the stats show, that doesn't happen.
And tell me a bit more, Heather, about the historical mistrust that you were talking about. What kind of problems are you trying to unpick here?
Well, what we're trying to do is to raise the awareness and the understanding of the barriers. So we're looking at the Tuskegee research. We're looking at the fact that people had been vaccinated previously without knowing what the side effects were. And we're also looking at the things that are happening now, which is, Black women are 1 in 4 more likely to disproportionately experience death during childbirth. So as I say, it's a collective that we really need to unpick, but we need to, one sector can't unpick it themselves. They really do need to work collectively with other bodies, be it churches, third sector organisations, to get information out. And then once people have factual information, they can make informed choices.
Yeah, I mean, some of those things that you were mentioning there about Black women being more likely to die in childbirth, that's certainly something we've talked about on the programme very recently. And in fact, another thing that we've talked about, and I wonder what your experience is of this. We've obviously talked about, high profile older people in the Black community who've been putting out various information videos. People like Lenny Henry's been very involved. Do things like that make a difference? Do they connect in a way that's helpful to you?
I think the stats will show that it doesn't. And that is probably because there is no affinity with Sir Lenny Henry and the other artists that have been used. We at Black Health Initiative have heard people say they've seen it, they've seen the letter on social media, but what does he know? How connected is he to the communities he's now trying to reach out? How involved has he been? And I think, we need to use different methodologies. So some people will say, yes, Lenny Henry, if he's getting it, I will too. Majority is saying, well, does he even use the NHS? So we need to use not just celebrities that are known nationally, but influencers within the various cities that we are reaching out to, that will be able to not only spread the information correctly, but actually have some kind of kudos within those communities we're trying to reach.
That is really interesting. So Heather, when people are asking you, and I'm sure doing the job that you do, people have asked you what your thoughts on it are and whether they should get vaccinated. How do you personally answer those questions? What do you say back to people who ask for your advice and your recommendation?
Well, personally, what we try to do is not give personal advice because that's not what we're here for. What we try to do is give out the factual information, and BHI, myself, and all the what we have are community champions actually get that factual information so we can give it and provide it in a way that will be received by the Black communities we work with. And then we leave it up to them to make their decision on whether they want the vaccination or not. What I'd hasten to say is that there needs to be continuous information given out in the way that people will receive it, and not just a blanket way of addressing the issue.